Good afternoon, everyone. As a courtesy to your fellow media members, as well as the coaches and student athletes, please silence your cell phones. When called upon, please provide your name and media affiliation each time you ask a question during the press conference. Please direct your question to a specific player. If you're joining us on Zoom, please use the raise hand function for questions. And recording press conferences on cell phones or cameras is prohibited. This press conference will go until 4:15 p.m. and it features the student athletes from the University of Tennessee, Josiah Jordan James, Olivier Kamwa, and Santiago Vescovi. Let's open up the floor for questions. Third row, please.
Olivier, just what stands out about, or what makes Derek Lively such a good shot blocker, and what stands out about Duke's interior defense as a whole?
Obviously he's a very athletic player, and he uses that to his advantage. You know, he has good timing, and then, to be a good shot blocker, you have to be willing, and he definitely is. You have to be kind of fearless, and he has that factor in him. You know, he's going for all the shots. He's trying to get them all, regardless of if it's somebody trying to come in and dunking on him or somebody shooting the floater. Like, he has that confidence that he can get them all, so I feel like just that fearlessness of going for every shot.
Front row.
Kip Coons, Press Box View. Santiago, Tyrese Proctor told us that you and he have history. You were apparently roommates at the academy. What do you remember about him from those days, and what can you tell us about his playing style?
Definitely remember him. He came in the academy kind of when I was on my way out. He was a young fella. Loved to be friends with him. He was one of my roommates. We had a great time together, to be honest. And I remember leaving the academy. I was surprised with him and a couple other players younger than we were at that time, and how talented they were. I think he's a great player all around. He can shoot the ball. He can drive. He's a smart kid. And like I said, overall, he's a really talented player, and I'm very excited looking forward to tomorrow to play against him.
Row three.
Rob Lewis, FallQuest.com. Josiah, do you think there's an advantage to playing a tight, close game like you guys did last night in the first round of the tournament?
I definitely do. We would have liked to, keep the lead that we had, but it shows that we learned from, games in the past where we have, given up big leads and ultimately lost the game. And so we held our composure. We did a good job of, staying even-keeled throughout the game, and ultimately we got the job done. And so I think it'll play to our advantage moving forward.
Front row.
Ben McKee, 247 Sports. Santi, just what have you seen from Jeremy Roach so far, and just kind of scouting Duke's perimeter players as a whole? Just what's going to be key for you and Jemai and Josiah tomorrow?
Kind of adding up to Tyrese Proctor. We know they have really good guards, especially Roach. He's a very quick guard. He's very good playing off ball screens. He can shoot it. He can get to the rim. So I think they have two very dynamic players on him and Proctor. And, of course, we're going to have to do a very good job defending ball screens, as that's our main go-to. So that's what we're going to have to focus on the most.
Row three.
Josiah, just how much did the loss last year in this round, has that driven you guys through the course of the season?
It's driven us a whole lot. We were able to get a taste of it with the victory at Longwood. We were excited, we were happy, and then, a couple days later we played a really tough Michigan team, and we just remember that feeling of the defeat, the hurt, and the pain that we had, and it's really fueled us to get to this point. And we know that we're going to have to go into a dogfight less than 24 hours from now to not have that feeling. We just got to play together and play our game.
Row three.
Josiah, kind of piggybacking off of that, does tomorrow kind of feel a little bit like that Michigan game last year, just in considering that it's a team that maybe is a little bit more talented than its seed maybe represents?
I guess you could say that, but we really don't pay attention to seeds. We don't get into all that. We know that Duke is a really talented team, one of the more talented teams that we face, if not the most talented team. So we just got to come in and do what we do, play together both offensively and defensively, but we don't really care about the seed or anything like that.
Olivier, why has Jemai, what's the one reason that you would pinpoint that Jemai has taken the leap that he has taken these last 2-3 weeks?
Well, he's a young player, and as for all young players, the more you play, the more confidence you gain, and you get in rhythm. So I think just the time on the floor has just helped him grow the game.
Additional questions? Row 2.
Wes Rucker with 24/7 Sports. Josiah, obviously y'all have been through it this year, kind of health-wise. You have, a lot of other guys have. Santi up here has. Guys have been in and out of the lineup. How much has that tested? I don't know if patience is the right word, but sort of the resolve of this team, because it just seems like it's been one thing after the other after the other.
Yeah, our biggest thing is, just fighting through adversity. We've had some tough breaks throughout the season, but nobody's folded. Everybody's come back, and we've still stayed together as a group. We've been through a whole lot from the beginning of the season to right now, and we still made it to this point. So we know that the adversity that we've faced is only going to help us in games and situations like this. Guys have had to step up and play big roles and more minutes with guys being out. And so I think it all just comes together and helping us in this tournament right here.
Let's go back to the front row.
Josiah, anything different in preparation, recovery, pretty quick turnaround after a late game last night and getting into preparation today? Anything different with recovery?
I would say there's just been a bigger emphasis on it. We had a quick little session earlier after breakfast this morning, foam rolling, stretching, but just an emphasis on getting sleep because we had a late night last night, and so everybody, getting the recovery that they need sleep-wise. And then, after practice, we'll do a whole nother recovery session. So I think it's just been a bigger emphasis on it.
Row 2.
Rick Butler, Rocky Top Insider. Josiah, just kind of following up on that, how much of a benefit can it be to have this rest day in the middle, unlike, or I guess in comparison to the SEC tournament when it was that nature of being back-to-back?
Yeah, it's really, really beneficial, not only for us, but I think for every team, because playing back-to-back days is really tough. Games are tough to win, especially in these types of environments where it's a 40-minute fight. It's really tough, and it takes a toll on your body. So having that 24-hour period in between games is huge, and we're trying to take a full advantage of it as possible.
Row 2.
Wes Rucker, 24/7. This is for Olivier. When y'all have those stretches offensively where the turnovers kind of compile, and maybe not quite as bad as it was in the first half yesterday, but there have been moments where these turnovers come in clusters. How do y'all as a team stop that stuff from happening? I mean, Rick always says just concentrate, do the little things, but is that all it is, or is there more to kind of stopping those nasty streaks?
I got to go with Coach on that one. Just focus, paying attention, keeping focused, staying connected, concentration, and knowing what we're doing at the time, what the game plan is, what we're trying to get done, executing.
Additional questions for Tennessee? Thank you, gentlemen. Head coach Rick Barnes will be coming up shortly. Coach? Good, good. Okay, good afternoon again, everyone. Once again, please provide your name and media affiliation each time you ask a question, and we'll open up the floor for questions for Tennessee head coach Rick Barnes, right here in the front, Kip.
Kip Coons, Press Box View. Rick, John Shire just told us that you recruited him back in the day, and that if you had told him you were going to get Kevin Durant, he would have gone to Texas. What happened?
Well, obviously, I didn't know I was going to get him at the time. But, John's a good player, good person, and, I think John could have gone anywhere he wanted to go, and he obviously picked Duke, and it's worked out well for him, and terrific player, and we played against him. I don't remember. I just know that we played against him in the NCAA tournament somewhere, and they beat us. They knocked us out, but I always have great respect for him and the way he handles himself. Saw him on the road last summer at the Peach Jam in Augusta when first time I'd seen him since he got the job, and congratulated him, and he's just certainly worthy of it and really has done a terrific job. Always a tough situation when you follow someone that did and what Mike did there, but John really has done just a great job with this team. I think he's done a great job getting them through some injuries early in the year, but getting them where they're playing their best basketball right now at the right time.
Row 3.
Rob Lewis, FallQuest.com. Coach, do you think it's an advantage to play a tight, tough game like you did last night in the first round of this tournament?
At the time last night, I wish it had been a little bit easier, but we had a lead, and we need to make our free throws when a team's they start hitting some threes, but I go back to a year ago. It was kind of the opposite. We came out, played really well, then went up against obviously a tougher opponent. So I do think, and I mentioned this last night, what we've gone through in our league the last month, I think has helped us win a game like last night. And I'm not so sure we'd have known how to handle it if it would have stayed easy last night, because it seems like every game for the last month has been, a 1 or 2 possession game coming down the stretch. And you certainly hope this time of year that all that's going to come back to help you when you most need it.
Rocky Top Insider. Just what makes Duke such a good rebounding team, and how important will a rebounding battle be tomorrow?
Well, I think on paper they're probably the biggest team in the tournament, and they make a great effort to go get there. We've always believed that, it's a talent. It's got to somewhat be in your DNA that you want to go get it like they do. They run really good offense. They space the floor well, and I think they know where their shots are coming from, and so they're ready to go get it. So that will be a big part of tomorrow's game, but it's a big part of every game. But they, again, as we watch film with our players, that was one of the big emphases. We know that they're going to come to the glass. They know we're going to come to the glass, so I expect that to be a big part of the game.
Ben McKee, 247 Sports. Rick, what's the one biggest reason, in your opinion, that Jahmai has taken the leap that he has these last 2-3 weeks?
Well, one is his work ethic. It started, he came in as a freshman like most freshmen, not understanding learning how to practice hard is a big thing, learning all the details that go into being a consistent, good college basketball player. But at the end of last season, as soon as we got back in the spring, we spent a lot of time together in the gym just totally reconstructing his shot to really help him there, because he needed to do that, because he is a guy that can drive the ball. He's got a great talent in the fact that he's a high-level competitor. And that, you're going to get from him every single night. I think now, playing more minutes, he realized even more and more the importance of being cardio tough, learn how to play through fatigue, and the fact that he right now, I think if you'd asked me with the start of the season that we're going to be in the NCAA in the first round game, our leading scorer is going to be he and Tyreek Key and Euros. I wouldn't have thought that, but I think it's all their growth. But he's worked hard. I know his teammates respect him because of what he does every single day, and having to compete against Santi, he would tell you that's who until he really became on the first team, that's who he went against every day, and that's not easy to do, because what Santi does when he's out there under the lights, he does every day in practice.
Row 2.
Rick Butler, Rocky Top Insider. When, just from the perspective of health and prep, how much of a benefit is it to have this 24 hours in between in comparison to something like the SEC tournament where it is that nature of being back-to-back?
Oh, it's a huge difference. I mean, like for instance, like a back-to-back is like really difficult on a guy like Josiah, who's still honestly working his way back to where he wants to be. But a day off is much different than just back-to-back. And guys that played a lot of minutes, they need it. Their bodies, and you know, we're lucky that we've got a great trainer, great strength and conditioning coach who, if you guys knew what they did behind the scenes to try to get the recovery back for those guys that played those minutes, because we know, again, tomorrow is going to be as hard a fought game, physical game as we'll ever be in.
Row 3, please.
Here in the Maryville Daily Times, Rick, I'm sure Zakai is not the first major contributor you've ever lost in the middle of the season. I'm just wondering, from your experience, how long does it take normally for a team to adjust to a loss like that? And do you think it helps or hurts that it kind of happened in an area of the season where there's a cluster of games and maybe not as many practices to have?
Well, it's tough when it happened to Zakai, because, you know, we had been dealing with injuries, you know, with, you know, we go back to, I think, the Mississippi State game on the road. We had two players that didn't play. I know Santi didn't play. I think he missed a couple games. You know, Josiah certainly missed games. Julian missed games. And we had different guys that are in key spots for us. But Zakai had been the one guy that, you know, you go back to late game situations. I mean, most of our late game situation package went through him. And to lose him, and you go back to the Arkansas game, it was the first game that we went into to where we felt like, okay, now we're hitting our stride at the right time. And then obviously he got hurt early in the game, and we fought through that. I'm glad we're at home at that time, because I thought we played really hard and against a good Arkansas team. But it's been different, and at this time of year, that's probably the hardest position to overcome because of what his value to us was. But you know what, we've done like we've done all year. We haven't made a big deal about it. We obviously miss him, and he knows it, but we just said, hey, someone else is going to have to pick up some slack, and more guys are going to have to contribute. And these guys have been resilient. They really have, because our expectations are higher than anybody's. And when we lost some games coming down the stretch at the end, it can take its toll on you. But we go in the film room, we look at it, show what we did wrong, and say, let's see if we can go out and fix it. And they've never stopped trying to get better. But it's hard when you lose a key guy, and certainly Zakai's a key guy with what he was doing for us when we lost him.
I talked a bit about that Michigan loss a minute ago. Just, I'm curious, have you seen that loss motivate the team in the offseason and in the end of the season?
Well, I knew when we left a year ago when we got beat. I mean, I know that the devastation was there, because they wanted, they wanted to keep playing. But I think they also learned, and they talked about it. We obviously have talked about it. They've talked about it, how, it's hard. It's really hard to win. Getting here is hard, and winning first round games because of such parity now in college basketball, that getting started is one of the hardest things. And then when you get going, I look at us, I can't imagine a 5 seed better than Duke right now. And I can't imagine how Houston feels having a year they have and having to play basically a 8-9 seed winner on their home court. I mean, it's hard. And some of it you don't understand with the way things happen, but I do think our guys talked about how hard it is, and how they know that there can be no letdown. There can be, you can't take anything for granted. Not that they did a year ago. I don't think they did, but it's a learning process. And it's something being here that you would never take for granted, because, again, there's a lot of teams that like to be here.
Row 1.
Rick, how would you assess what Julian Phillips is giving you all right now in his minutes?
Again, you go back to Julian, I think there's certain injuries that are hard in the middle of the season. I mean, groin pulls, hamstring pulls, those things are really difficult. They don't get better overnight. And when you have a hip flexor like he had, it doesn't get better overnight. And he's worked hard. And, you know, we felt again that there's a guy that was starting to hit his stride. And then he pulled had the problem with the hip flexor, and it took him out of action really 2.5, 3 weeks before he could. He was trying. I mean, he was. Again, go back to the Texas A&M game. You know, he and Josiah didn't play in that game. Josiah was overcoming a high ankle sprain. Julian was, and they tried. They were out and shoot around, wanting to help the team any way they could, but they knew they couldn't do what they needed to do to help us win. And I think he's still finding his way to get back. I really do. And we're going to need him tomorrow in a big way. We're going to need him because his length and his mindset can help us. And but this is all new to him too. I mean, it's his first time, and I know that. Do I think he's 100% now? I don't, but I know he's going to give us everything that he has.
Row 3.
Rob Lewis, VolQuest.com. Coach, what did you think about Jonas defensively last night, and how important is he in his link tomorrow with Filipowski and Duke?
Well, our front line, their front line. I mean, it's going to be a lot of big guys on the court, and we need Jonas to do that. We need him to. His length, I thought his length was a factor last night too. I thought Uroš set a really good, got it going for us physically when he started the game yesterday. But Jonas is going to be important. He is important, and what he does with his length, and we need him. We actually need him when he's open to shoot the ball, because you guys know he's a good shooter. And but we're going to need him. We're going to need him to play big tomorrow.
Row 2.
Wes Rucker, 24/7 Sports. Rick, I know basketball is a game of runs. Obviously, everyone knows that sometimes you go on runs, sometimes you get run on a little bit. When y'all go through those stretches where it's sometimes hard to even get shots up because the turnovers are mounting, is there anything y'all obviously talked about as a staff or tried to figure out how to get these guys to get those things done quicker?
Yeah, we talk about it. Obviously, we talk about taking care of the basketball a lot. That's one of our major. If you ask our guys what's important, they tell you, defense, rebound, and taking care of the ball. And but I go back to this year. We've had to adjust so many different times with different guys being in and out of our lineup, where I know that's been a part of it, where we've had to adjust based on who we had that night and how we thought we had to play. And so that's been a little bit of it, and probably more of it than I really want to admit, really. But the fact is, our guys know they have to do it. But last night, you're playing against a team that's a good team, and we had them on the ropes, and then they make a couple shots, and we miss free throws. And you got to make the free throws, and we did a good job in the first half. But as you said, it's a game of runs, and we've got to, again, the way we turned it over yesterday a couple times, we tripped over setting the screen, we tripped over our own man. I'm not sure on a couple of them what we were doing. We called a set, we didn't execute twice in those things, and those are the things that, again, we've got to make sure we don't have those blunders tomorrow.
Additional questions for Coach Barnes? Row 2, please.
Wes Rucker, 24/7. Rick, do you think your team, these guys, have played in enough of these moments and enough of these games against opponents like this to not, kind of get bedazzled a little bit by the Duke name?
Yeah, you think about it, we've beaten 2 number 1 seeds this year. I think a number 2 seed. So yeah, we're playing a great basketball league, and I don't think these guys, first of all, they have a lot of respect for the name of Tennessee. We feel like, we're a team that can compete with any team in the country, and these guys have shown this year, certainly when we've been at full strength, and I don't know if we've been at full strength all year. Josiah wasn't with us at the start of the year, but the fact is, I think our guys have a great deal of respect for what they do, their work, and what they put in year-round to know that they belong wherever they play.
Final questions for Coach Barnes? Thank you, Coach.
All right, thank you.
Hammond Communications will post a recording of this press conference in the NCAA Digital Media Hub at ncaa.veritone.com. Transcripts are provided by ASAP and will be posted shortly. Thank you all for joining us.